lies. You better the ties, you better the ties. In this world full of lies, you better the ties by the people in the skies. But no, you know I don't know whether it is worth it to fight for the truth. But why say a lie? But no one can hear my cry. Why say a lie? So now you may talk here. I'm gonna sing about it, I'm gonna fuss about it, and you will hear about it.
Okay. Jeez. Alright. Alright. Well, I don't care much for this one, to be completely honest. It's, like, fine. I think it does some really cool concepts. I like some of the gimmicks it has. Like, just, you know, purely just, you know, conceptual standpoint. Like, I really like some of the 2.2 mechanics, how it sort of has you bounce around all over the place and plays with the camera and gravity in weird ways, but every part still kind of plays like it's either boring or annoying. Like the intro is kind of boring because you just buffer the jumps and orbs, and the later section is like, the robot's a little bit weird because of the camera. Whatever was before that, I think it's a cube. That's also kind of annoying. And then like when the drop happens, I guess you'd call it, like that's also just kind of like whatever, because you're just clicking at orbs and I don't know. It's a weird blend of issues. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't even remotely close to hate it. I actually would give it like a pretty high 5. I would say, but again, a 5 out of 10 isn't like really something for this one. I just think it's pretty poorly realized. A lot of potential in it still, from a conceptual standpoint, but it is not Subwoofer's best work, and it's kind of a disappointing follow-up to. Oh wait, I forgot about Space Invaders. I was gonna say follow-up to Citadel, but there was a level between those two, and it was actually mythic in an event. Kind of crazy that I forgot about that. Oh well. Yeah, not my favorite with this one, but it's alright, I guess. I just think it could play a lot better. Oh, yes. There we go. Oh, I love this level so much, dude. It's so pretty. Dude, and it's so fun. It's not gonna go into breathing my van, I don't think, but yeah, it fades out a little bit. Very different than what I'm used to, but God, okay. God, I love this level. It's so good. Oh, man. I love the design, the scattered blocks that are, like, so messy, but in such a gorgeous, natural way. And it uses a Bitbeak song, and I just love this song. The gameplay is great. I think this is probably a solid 9, I would say. You know, I always go back and forth a little bit at first, but I think that 9 is appropriate here, just because it leaves a nice emotional impact. I think this level would have been great if it used the entire song length, because usually levels that use the entire song length tend to be the most emotionally resonant. But it's not necessary, exactly. I think I would have felt a little more firmly on 9 if that were the case, but I still feel like I can give this a 9 the way it is right now. It's just such a beautiful level. I love the design with how minimalistic yet weirdly cluttered and chaotic it is in this natural garden-like environment with some It feels like Sculptures by Flash, you know? That's how the gameplay feels. Just a lot of scattered objects that don't really fit together super well, but they don't really need to. Oh God, I love this so much. This is a great level. I'm a big fan of this one. I don't know if it's going to stay as a medium demon. It's a 4 on the GDDL, which is easy demon territory. So it could get re-rated down, but I would like for it to stay as medium. I just voted medium, so hopefully that should cement it a little further. I think that's appropriate, although the coins do make it hard to judge. These coins, I like the coins, but they are very, very brutal. I feel a little bit mixed on the second coin. It's just kind of a tight... The other two coins really fundamentally change each section and how you're supposed to play it, whereas the second one's just kind of a frustrating... It's not a frustrating timing, so to speak. I think if I had practiced it a little bit more as well, it would have made a bit more sense. And I could have done it consistently, but it's fine. But the first and third coins both feel appropriate. You know, you just have to complete the sections in different game modes, which does make it a lot harder. But in a fun, satisfying way, you can puzzle it out a little bit, and it changes, you know, how you should approach the challenge. And especially working around the weird geometry of the level. I think it's really well designed, and I just think that the level itself is well designed. It's so good. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Big fan of this, happy to play it. When was that released? That's probably this year. No, is it not? Aww. I wanted to include this in the best of the year, but I guess I can't do that now. What an unfortunate circumstance. Oh well. Still a great level at the end of the day. Okay. Dude, this is so good! The song rep. Oh my god, it's so good! It's so good! Dude, this is so peak. Oh my god, I love it. Oh, I mean, like, you know, I did my practice run. I was like, okay, these gameplay effects are awesome. This gameplay is really creative and really cool and really fun. And it's just, wow. I was already blown away by that. And then I got to the song rep part, and it's like, oh, it's so good! This level's amazing. The way it represents, like, every single thing in the song, despite the very simplistic art style. Like, okay, you know, let's get one thing straight. I've said it before, I said it with credits, and I'm gonna say it again because I am very deeply, passionate about this philosophy. Simplistic design does not equal layout. Let's get that straight. If you decorate with 1.0 blocks, that is fine. Do that. That is a perfectly valid visual style. RobTop might slap you with a rate only because, you know, apparently that's not good enough. But let it be known, if you like 1.0 blocks in your design, use the freaking 1.0 blocks, because this looks awesome. I think the minimalist design perfectly serves what this level's trying to do, because it has its own art assets throughout. There's some pixel art along the way, but I'm not really so much as concerned about that as I am about the other little details. And the way it really, like, blends and puts all these objects together, it's just so cool. This is absolutely awesome. I love the conceptualization of this level. It's really, really freaking good. Big fan of this level. And yeah, no, it plays really well. It looks really good. The effects are sick. Absolutely incredible stuff with this. I am feeling a very, very solid 9. I would I only have 2 9s rated so far this year. I've got Heavy Gears, and I've got actually the last level I played, the Walls of Stems. I'd probably put this, I don't know. Because the only thing holding it back, I'd say, is that I don't care as much. I like the song. I don't like it as much as I like Lift the Walls, the song. But the gameplay in this level is better. I do think I like the structuring and creativity more in Walls of Stems, so I'd probably rank this right below that currently. But it's a solid 9 regardless. Excellent, just conceptualization and gameplay. Very, very good. Big fan of this one. Very good choice on my part out of the options I was given here. Yeah, that was great. Love it. Nice. I like this level a lot. This is really cool. you know, I'm a 1.9 Gbps lover. I'm only naturally able to like love this or whatever, you know. It's really good. I think the balancing is a little bit weird, and the transition into like, I mean, it's not really a drop because Sinocular Nebula Solo doesn't really have a drop in it, but at the fast part, it does have a bit of a weird transition into it. That's not my favorite thing. And a couple of other little weird gameplay quirks, but overall the level just flows really nicely and is super fun, and the visuals are beautiful. I love 1.9 GDPS. A lot of intricacies in the design. I like the curvy, like, support beam looking things in, like, the beginning. I like the blade art at the very end. There's just a lot of cool little things in this level. It's really hard to describe because it's more design based than it is, like, you know, thematic. But it looks really nice, and it's really fun. That's all I have to say. It's a solid 8, I would say. Low 8. I still put it below Satellites. That's the other 1.9 GDPS level I've played so far this year. But yeah, that's a good comparison point. I put it just a little bit below that, I'd say. Overall, pretty good. That's such an appropriate song change. Heck yeah. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, okay. It feels kind of weird playing this. It feels weirdly appropriate, like, playing it after Charmed Life, in a way, because it kind of represents different locations. But golly, this level does a really good job of song rep. The level really matches the intensity throughout, progresses nicely. You know, you got this first spring section, which is like the beginning, and it has like a little bit of a slow section in there, but it mostly focuses on the melody. And then it moves on to the summer, which has a little bit less emphasis on the melody, transitioning into fall, and then you have like that beautiful little like twinkly Celestia sort of sound in the beginning of the winter section before it ramps back up in energy. And then you go through all the seasons a second time at the end, just, you know, to really solidify it. That's really nice. I like it. From a thematic standpoint. From a decorative and gameplay standpoint, I'm a little bit different on that. I'll start with the gameplay, because that's just the easier thing to critique. It's fine, I guess. Like, I don't hate it. Sometimes it's fun, but it is a little over-indicated. And sometimes there's just weird little, like, discrepancies where it just is weirdly hard to tell, like, hard to judge your jump or your distance from a block or whatever. Like, I died a couple times in the fall part just because I jumped late, even though it looked like a completely fine jump timing. And that kind of sucked. And also, another thing that I think my biggest complaint with the gameplay, honestly, might be the dash orbs. Because the dash orbs in this level use S-blocks on every single one of them, but they never really are indicated, so you kind of have to, like, it doesn't force you to release, nor does it, like, indicate where you're going to fall, so you kind of have to be ready for it.
Obviously, if you're watching the gameplay, it shouldn't be a huge issue, but I did get a little irritated by that, because I have
a tendency to overhold on dash orbs. That's how I do it. And then thematically, and, you know, this isn't, like, a huge critique, but it's more substantive, I feel like, just as a criticism. It's not that there's not a lot of stylistic cohesion between parts. Like, sometimes it makes sense, but, like, the difference from summer to fall to spring felt so, like, jarring to me, because summer, like, starts with this very different design style, like, with the stacked blocks, and I like the way it looks, but it does feel very different. And then I know fall was kind of somewhere in the middle, but, like, winter felt extremely simplistic. Especially at the very start of it. Like, there's not a lot of stylistic cohesion, which was unfortunate. I don't hate it or anything. It's still a decent progression. But I don't know. I feel like it could have been cleaned up a little bit just to feel really appropriate. And then there's, of course, the little thing where it's like, is it considered a travel level by the title? And it's not really a travel level because there's not much of a emotional progression from it. There's not really a narrative. It's just kind of go through the seasons, kind of like autumn travel in a way. It's kind of like a nature walk more than it's like a meaningful journey. But who cares? Well, I wouldn't say who cares. It still impacts the rating. I would give it a high 5. I think upper C tier is valid. Mostly for the gameplay issues, but you know, some of the stylistic stuff can be a little bit irritating. Similar to flow and creativity in some ways as well. That's another one that, and you know, Dunder Patchoulin song. I love Dunder Patchoulin. It's not my favorite Dunder Pat song, for sure, but it has a nice melody. So I mean, it does the trick. I like it. It's a good level. Not my favorite thing ever, but it does what it sets out to do pretty well, and I think that's perfectly fine. Good stuff. Me win egg. Okay. Whatever. The egg is funny. I like the egg a lot. The rest of the level is like... fine. I'd give it a 4. I actually think some of the gameplay is pretty fun, but the transitions kind of suck, and it's an extremely generic hell design level. I only played it because the egg was funny. That's pretty much the extent of it. I was like, what's on this page? Like, nothing else really looked appealing. Oh, there's a Zoro level, but it had coins. Yeah, nothing else here looked very interesting to me, though, so I was like, I'm just going to play the one with the funny title. And that was how we got to that point. Yeah, but it's just a generic hell level with, like, moderately okay gameplay, but some weird transitions and stuff, and it's also just not very creative, and yada yada yada, you get it. 4 out of 10 is completely valid, I would say. I had an okay time with it. I just leave feeling extremely whatever. But, yeah, GG me. Yay. I can't believe I fluked so much of that. God. I was kind of zoned out there, I can't lie. Yeah. I kind of stopped focusing. And then I realized I was getting far. I was like, oh shoot. I could fluke this. And 65 is not bad. That's the robot plus like the ball. Yeah, that's solid. Also 538 total attempts. That's kind of crazy. That's less than the freaking serpent level. Serpent shrine. God. Yeah, that's less. That's kind of crazy. I felt, because, you know, this is a... I guess I should just make this part of the review. I mean, you know, but it's a very mashy level. Button mashy, fast-paced dying. Yeah, with this level, it's like... I really like it. It flows well, but oh my god, it's so high CPS. I'm not really a big high CPS gameplay fan. I think it can work. And it kind of does in this level, but it is really hard on the hand. This one was physically wearing on me for a while there until I kind of just adapted. And that's not really like a huge condemnation of it. It doesn't mean I like it less than some other levels. You know, just... I just find it to be a little bit less enjoyable because I die in some ways that just because my hand can't keep up with it. I don't know. I'm also tired, so keep that in mind. That's also why this review sounds like it's given by like someone who has no idea what they're talking about. But I do love the visual style. I would say that the visual style doesn't perfectly represent the song. Like, you know, it kind of does, but it doesn't really feel like essential to the song, other than like that one part we've got like the sort of rock formations that look like it's at the bottom of the sea in a way. Because that's what the song kind of is about at times. But yeah, anyways, I like the level. The gameplay doesn't perfectly match the song, and it can be annoying, but it does flow nicely, and I think the visuals are beautiful even if they don't match. I would say 7. Probably because I just enjoy the song a lot. Although I feel like if I didn't enjoy the song as much, I might be inclined to lean more towards a 6, just because of the thematic disconnect. But then again, it's an ivyteal level, so of course it looks beautiful. Beautiful, very raw, very scrappy. That's how I always describe these levels. Like, you know, ad nauseum. But it just works. It's gorgeous. I like it. I wanted to go a little bit higher, kind of, but I just can't really justify it any higher than a 7. I think 7's fine. Maybe a low 7, but it's still pretty neat. Just more interesting by association of being a hard demon. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm kind of exhausted, but that's all I've got to go with for it. So yeah, good stuff. Pretty fun. Nice, first try. Let's go. Cool. Didn't think I was gonna get that coin first try, but I will roll with it. Let's go. That's a fun little gimmick level. I think it's cute. Yeah. Just a fun little gimmick. I mean, like, it's not, like, entirely unique or anything. I've seen levels do it before, and I get a little bit frustrated with, like, the constant, like, size changes that you can't really predict. I like when it's consistent, like with this part here where it stays long ways the whole time. Like, that works a little bit better, I would say. Boxes, I don't think they're god-awful or anything, but it is tricky to tell sometimes. So yeah, I'd go with a 6. I think if the concept further explored and better executed, then this could have maybe ranked a little bit higher, but it's not a big deal, you know. Things aren't always perfect. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. All around pretty good, though. I like that level. Ooh. Okay. Alright. Kind of a weird ending. It kind of just trails off at the end. But, you know, that's fine. I have to say... okay, it wasn't the first level. Okay, not even close to the first level since... the underground. Because I was just thinking to myself, like, it is insane to go from, like, the underground to that, from a technical standpoint, across one level. I was like, there's no way it's the only one. But still, that was a really, really huge improvement. That's just so impressive to me. To go from just to, you know, upgrade from the underground to this even over time. That's not a, you know, that's not a critique of the underground or anything. I actually would say I prefer the underground, just from a gameplay and atmosphere perspective, I guess. But the technical execution of this theme is just so well done. And the visual style, it's a lot more polished. You can definitely feel how this creator has improved over time with their editor skill, and I think that's pretty awesome. And, you know, thematically, it's just awesome. It does a lot more, because the Underground had a lot of, you know, it was really good, but it had a lot of distinct sections, whereas this one, everything feels more coherent. It feels like there's a narrative where everything kind of gets washed away in the flood. And I just think that's really, really, really cool. The gameplay matches it appropriately. Again, I don't think it's quite as fun, just because it's not as intense as the Underground. But still, all around, this is a really good level. And it's the first Legendary Weekly we've had in, like, what, several months. The last Legendary Weekly was, like, was Kingdom of Hearts, and that was still kind of out of obligation. The Mazler was the last one that was, like, not a last-second decision. So it's always good to see a new Legendary Weekly, and that was a great level. So, yeah, I'm happy to see that in the spotlight. That was very fun. Again, I don't think it's as strong as I don't think it's as strong as the Underground, just, you know, from a gameplay perspective. But I mean, it's really well done still, I would say. That's about all I have to comment on it, I think. Yeah, just doing a good level. I'd give it an A tier. Like, if I'm only gonna get there 20 attempts, and that's never gonna get me to the end of this level. All it's gonna take is getting there about, like, 3 to 4 times, like, in a good streak. And then just, like, you know, gradually building it back up from there. Because it requires a lot of memory. Like, dying easy, yes, then I'm never gonna get it. This first part is not hard at all. Okay. Light work. I didn't even need to get it several times in a row, I guess. Okay, I was just clowning around, I suppose. Whoops, my bad. Yeah, peak. Okay, cool. Love me some Radiohead, on a Monday. Yeah, it's Monday. Yeah, I'm a big old fan of, exit music for film. I support this. This is support using the song. Do I support the level itself? Yeah, to some degree. I think the visual, okay, they are beautiful. I'm not gonna back down on that statement. The level looks phenomenal. Whether it's appropriately themed, I don't know. I like the very beginning a lot. I think it matches really well because you're kind of up in the mountains and stuff. It has like this sense of grandiose to it. You know, like just being in the mountains, it feels like you're like on Olympus or something. I don't know. I'm just making up goofy narratives. But you know, it's a very powerful song about rulers and leadership and, you know, the rules and the wisdom being the downfall or whatever. I don't know. Exit Music has not ever been like my favorite Radiohead song. I still love it, but I haven't really analyzed it for meaning like I have certain other songs, even, you know, just on a computer. I still love the song though. But I don't really build ties with it as much. And I think that's also because my perception is a little bit tainted because it was for a movie separate from Radiohead's own, like, narrative. I'm sure they tied in their own, you know, personal experience. But I think that, you know, with this song being made for Romeo and Juliet, at least I think that's what it was for, right? I should know this off the top of my head, be able to say that confidently, but if I am wrong, then I don't want to be, like, overly confident. Anyway, no, so it having its own sort of agenda kind of makes it a little harder to, like, parse, if that makes sense, but it's okay. Regardless, I do like the way this level uses the song in the first half, and I think the intensity in the second half really matches it very well. I like the explosion part thingy, where it all just goes red, and it's like very intimidating, very sinister, very appropriate. But it does kind of lose the theme. You know, there's not much tying the narrative to the level in that regard, and it's like, I don't know. It still looks very good though. I think the first half it's easier to get an idea of how good it looks because it goes slower, so you can keep track of where you're at more. With how fast you go in this section, it's so hard to. Actually, this is not the fast part. This is the very end. Yeah, but no, with how fast you go in the first or in the like middle second act of the level, kind of easy to lose track of the visuals. But if you take a minute to look at them, they do look very, very good. From a gameplay perspective, I feel a little weird. The thing is, this level's so short. Like, there is not enough time to appropriately build up the climax. Like, it starts at, like, the, you know, the part of the song where it really kind of goes wild just a little bit. But, like, it's not, like, the peak of that. Like, well, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm tired. It's like, there's such little time between, like, the minor drop in the song. I'm using drop as, like, an entire song sense, and I know it's indie, not even indie rock, but, you know, it's a rock piece, so, like, drop isn't really the right term. But you take the first, like, climactic moment, and then an even bigger climactic moment later in the song, which is where the intensity kicks up in this level. So there's a bit of a disparity there. But it's just such a short amount of time between both of them that, like, you don't really get to marinate in the slower atmosphere before you get thrown into the fast part. So it means a lot of this level is just learning the fast part, and once you've learned it, it's pretty easy to execute in runs, as long as you can get there consistently. Which I wasn't for some reason. I'm like, when I practiced the first half of the level, I was just cooking it, and then when I got into runs, I was like, what the hell, why can't I do this? But whatever. Sure. What else do I have to say? Yeah, I don't know. I just think the offset is a little disorienting. So, I don't know. Kind of has a tower descent effect to it. I don't know. I'm a little torn between 6 and 7. Haha, funny joke. Because, like, on one hand, I think the level is great, and I think what it does use in the song, it uses very well. I do think both parts are fun, respectively, but they don't feel like a complete product so much to me. So I'm not entirely sure. I want to. Let's say tentative 7. I'll put a 7 for now. But when I go to rank this later, at a later point, I may or may not move it down to the 6s. But it doesn't really matter. It's a B tier level one way or another. I enjoyed my time with it. even if that time was like a little bit short and a little bit lopsided in regards to like section stuff. But yeah, that was a good one. Happy to play it. Yeah, very, very interesting one. But just regardless, I love me some Radiohead Demon, so I have no problems. Like, it's tough. Oh, you can skip back! You don't have to do the puzzle again. So I hypothetically could have played this in normal mode. I guess. Would have been nice to know. Five, 6, 5, 1. Yikes. Okay. Five, 6. Five. Wow. I actually just got that by luck the first time in practice mode. That's ridiculous. Wow. Wait, what? Oh! Oh my god. Are you kidding me? This is a new run. What the hell? Oh my god. What am I doing? Is this a puzzle or is this just a cutscene? There's so much to do here. So I feel like it has to be cutscene. Oh, okay. Oh my god. This is gorgeous. Oh, this is like the top of the bridge. God. Dude. That's unbelievable. Wow. It's so, man, okay. Wow. Crossing. Okay. I feel... Oh, it's hard to say. On one hand, I feel like I have conflicting feelings on this. Like, there were things... Let me get my cursor off the screen. Let's just bask in the atmosphere for a second. There are things about this on which I feel conflicted. But there are other aspects of this level which I think it does really, really well. I think that this level... Okay, you know, naturally I have to compare it to Experiment. My thoughts and opinions on Experiment. Oh, does the song die? Well, I'll still relax here for a little bit. Yeah, so I have mixed thoughts on Experiment. Experiment is a level, you know, it does a very similar thing. It repeats, and the whole purpose of it is kind of figuring out the trick. And in that level, it just feels a little bizarre. Because the playing experience, like, the gameplay is not important in that level, really. Because if you figure out the puzzles, like, there's not a lot to do there. Because I really don't know how to describe it. Like, I still feel confident in my stance on Experiment that it's an interesting level, but it suffers from, you know, the checkpoint practice issue. So this level is very similar to that, but it feels a lot better executed. For a number of reasons. For one, it just felt like this, I think that's for two reasons. The first of which is that this level felt like it had a lot more going on between the puzzle solutions. With Experiment, like, once you know the solution, like, the puzzle room is so short that, like, you're never really going to, like, get invested in it, like, after the initial run, because you can be in and out of that room in seconds. With this level, you're going to be stuck in these loops for a lot longer. You're going to bask in the atmosphere a little bit more. You have to pay attention to everything going on around you. And there's still a level of execution that needs to be done after you've found out the solution. That's not to say you didn't execute anything in Experiment, but it feels a lot more significant here. Because there's a lot to do each time. And I just think that's really, really cool. Every section is very fleshed out. It doesn't feel like anything was put together quickly. That's not to say Experiment is a rush-feeling level or anything. But this one just... It feels more complete. And I like that a lot about it. And on top of that, just it's way more atmospheric. The environment just feels so haunting. And there's some horror elements to it that really actually got me in the practice run. Now, that's gonna lose a little bit of its significance, of course, if you practice it without music, or if you... I mean, like, I don't even know if I want to say if you watch the video first. I feel like you'd still get caught off guard there a little bit. But, like, the player is in control of the level, so, like, nothing's predetermined. Like, you find that horror through discovery, which is impactful. Maybe I went on a bit of a tangent there. I was kind of in the middle of talking about the... I was talking about just the gameplay loop, but I think it's a lot better in this level. Hypothetically, probably could, with how easy the gameplay is, not use practice mode, I think. Because the level never asks you to do anything absurd from a difficulty perspective. There's no isolated challenge like there is at the end of Experiment. That level, if
you know, you get to the end, you still have to do that challenge room. Nothing's like that in this level. You may end up dying a few times, but I think I reasonably could have beaten this without practicing it, because it's only, like, 3 challenges, and then from there, like, you just kind of go along with the narrative of it, and I think it works really well. And on top of that, this level looks beautiful. This level's so gorgeous. I just love the way this looks. It's got, like, this gorgeous atmosphere with this haunting imagery that comes in around halfway through, but the first section is so easy to get immersed in. And there's that narrative between. Like, it feels so liminal and, like, disturbing. Oh my god, I love it. I absolutely love it. This level... this is a masterpiece. I can confidently say that. I feel very strong, positive feelings towards it. That's why I say I feel a little conflicted on it. But, like, in a way, in the sense that I feel like I shouldn't like it, but I do, because it improves the issues I had with Experiment. And again, I know I'm bashing on Experiment a little bit. I still like the level, but you'd know that I placed it in the C tier if you heard me talk about the level in the past. Just because of the replay value. This level I could see myself coming back to just to get, like, lost in the atmosphere of it. Like, it feels a lot more impactful. Yeah, this one's a solid 10. I feel pretty good about that. Which is pretty crazy. And I can't say it's that crazy or anything, but, you know, I haven't had, like, a level that I was confidently able to finish and then say that's a 10, like, outright. You know, there's a couple levels from earlier in this month that are still currently a little bit anonymous in terms of their rating. This one I can tell you right here, right now, this is a 10. There's just not a question in my mind. ItzKiba adds another 10 to the collection, and by collection I mean the 2 Kiba levels that are on my S tier. The other being a Final Memorial. Anyway, that was beautiful. Love it. Absolutely incredible atmospheric experience. I am so happy this is a thing. Yes, big fan, big fan. Good stuff. Nice. That was fun. I like this level. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Okay, so it's kind of just doing what Beyond Us and Between Us did. To some degree, you know, the aesthetics are very similar to these levels, and I think that the atmosphere in those levels is better. But this level looks gorgeous still. I don't know where my menu music's at, but whatever. Anyway. No, I like this level a lot, just for how pretty it is. It uses a lot of the aesthetic similarities of the
previous levels did. And I think it kind of cleans them up a little bit more even. But at the same time, it's like, you know, it's just kind of doing the same thing. It doesn't have as much originality. I give it like a low 8 or something probably, just because as gorgeous as the level is, it's just not as unique, and it also just isn't as atmospheric. The song is a little bit more upbeat, less immersive, just a lot of things. I do like the level though. It's overall pretty good. Just, you know, it's just a matter of like, I've seen it, I've done it, you know. It's just a continuation of a good premise, and little else. But that was still fun. I enjoyed it. Good stuff. Cool. I did it. Look at me. Alright, yeah, that was fine. I think the level looks really pretty. I like the visual style a lot. It's kind of messy, but messy in like a really good way that I like. I like messy design sometimes. So yeah, this level succeeds in that regard. There's some cool artwork at the beginning too. It's very minimalist, but like, it just feels really effective. The gameplay in this level is, like, fine, I guess. I think it's creative, but it's also very unbalanced. Like, I like the way that it plays around with, like, the ship and the wave and the orbs in tandem with those two game modes. And a couple other things. But at the same time, it's like, there's a lot of indicators, and there's a lot of things that are hard to see, hard to react to. It's kind of weird in that way. I also feel weird about the inclusion of the monsters, the deadlocked monsters, and like the little spinny guys from, like, what is it? Like the tower or something? I forgot where they come from. I know they were introduced in 2.2. But those things, the weird creatures, they just feel like out of place in a level like this. Not awful inclusions, but just it's different. What else? I mean, I think that's all there really is to say on it. It's very short. Oh yeah, I do want to say, I do appreciate that it uses a Bitbeak song, but it's also a part of the Bitbeak song that's like not really the most appealing. Like, it's good, but I don't really think of Bitbeak when I think of the intro to Fake Sun. I feel like when like the vocals actually come in is when the song's at its best. So I was gonna be like, you know, respect using Bitbeak, and I still think that to some degree, but it's not like Waltz of Stems, which also used a Bitbeak song and played and utilized it significantly better. Yeah, I like this level though. I'd probably give it like a 6. I like more about it than I don't like, but it just feels a little underwhelming for what I was more or less expecting out of a level with this decorative style, but yeah, you know, it's okay. All around not bad. Cool.
Sweet. Not too bad. I like this level. The gameplay's a little bit weird. It's awkward in places and also kind of generic because you're basically just like spam clicking orbs. But I like the art style a lot. Very, you know, raw, like kind of a lot of line work, but it also feels a little bit messy in a way that I like a lot. And weirdly, I like the song rep. Not like rep really, but I like how, you know, the song has an intense feel to it because of like the thick bass line and the drop. But something else I like, it goes weirdly with the melody of the song, because it kind of has this like hollow, ominous feel to it, which contrasts with the more intense feel of the bass line. But it makes the drop have like a really interesting, spooky effect that works really well in this level. I don't really know about like the narrative. I feel like there's probably a story to this based on like the art I'm seeing in the background, but I don't know how to tie it all together really, or how it relates to the name of the level or whatever. But I mean, still, it's a pretty good level. I'd probably go with like a 7, maybe like a low 7, just because of the art style. And I might have gone with a higher score if the gameplay were good, but the gameplay is just like meh in this. Not irritatingly so. Like if it were irritatingly so, I'd probably want to go with like a 5 or a 6. But I like it enough in this case. So yeah, that was a good level. I like that one. Pretty fun. Yeah. Let's go. Let's freaking go. Woo! Evil level. That was fun. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I like the gameplay in this. It's really fun. I like the flow of it. All cool stuff. Jeez, though. It's hard. And it feels artificially hard in some regards. Like, I feel like a lot of these spikes were added just to buff the difficulty a bit. Like, ultimately, what you do in this level is pretty basic, but it is made tighter by some spikes that didn't necessarily need to be there, but I don't hate them either. It just meant that this level took a little bit longer. But I love the flow of the level. I love the design of it. It's kind of got a 1.9 style, in a way. Oh, well, no kidding. I did not check that at first. But that was really, really fun. Just great gameplay. I'd give it a solid 7 because of how enjoyable it was. You know, like, design-wise, it's nothing crazy, but I do like, you know, what it is. Just, it looks pretty sweet, even if simplistic. 1.9. Yeah, that was a really good one. I like that. Salvation. I had forgotten the name pretty much. But I'm glad I did that. Cool.
Okay. I said it while playing, but I'm gonna make the joke again. How not playtested do you want your level? Yes. God. The transitions suck in this level. The gameplay on its own is pretty much fine. I mean, like, some of the moving objects are disorienting, but, like, it's not nearly as irritating as the stupid transitions that you can die inside of. It's actually just the one you can die inside of. The other ones are just blind, but the one, like, the fact that my last click is like 2 seconds before the pad transition and I can still die just is not okay. That's unacceptable, I would argue, quite frankly. Was not happy about that. The level on its own, the gameplay's fine, and I would have happily given it a 6 or a 7, but I just can't do it when the transitions drive me this insane. Oh, it's an okay level. I mean, I don't hate it. I'd still give it like a 5. And probably like a mid-5. Like, it's also, like, because, you know, compared to other 5, it's just not that interesting. Sorry. Worth a shot. To the sky, yeah. Oh well. Die to the one where you have to actually stop holding. Okay. Ooh, that was too close. Okay.
It wasn't too bad. It's a little bit front-loaded, I would say. The ending's not, like, easy or anything, though. So, like, it's decently balanced. I like this level a lot. Very slick for, like, a sort of neon, digital design level, I would say. Usually that kind of style is like, yeah, it's alright. And this still isn't mind-blowing or anything. You can group it in with a lot of others, but I think it's a lot more intricate and detailed. And it uses that digital framing device a little bit more accurately, especially in this wave part with the red blocks that kind of phase in and out, kind of like a virus in a way. Like, it's just obscured by the digital lights and stuff. That's cool. I like it. And the gameplay's pretty solid too. Again, it's a little bit front-loaded. And there are some moments that get on my nerves. Like, there was that one ship corridor in, like, the, like, 3rd section of the level. That just feels really awkward, and the level has a lot of weird intricacies like that. But overall, I think it's fun. It was better than I was expecting, quite honestly. I kind of thought it was going to be a sort of... I thought the gameplay was going to be a little bit weaker in this. But really, it was fine. I mean, I didn't have any issues with this. Oh, wait, no, I have huge issues. I just realized that the R is lowercase. God, why? Ugh. I don't usually bring that kind of thing up, but I just noticed it and it made me mad. Yeah, that's disappointing. No, it doesn't impact the rating. It's a solid 7 regardless, I would say. I had a lot of fun with this. More than I was expecting, at least. I still do kind of wish that the one section were a little easier, like with the shifting blocks, but I mean, it's not bad per se, it's just hard. And difficulty is not an issue in and of itself, so that's fine. Decent level. Okay. It's blinding. There we go. Gorgeous. Gorgeous level. Expertly designed. Absolutely stunning. Phenomenal work. Yeah, I win. I mean, like, I never celebrate too early, but I was kind of, like, dead centered on that dash orb, so I wasn't terribly concerned. God, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I love this. Yeah. No, that was beautiful. I would say... I'm kind of being jumpy here. I could be wrong. I would say this is probably the best gameplay in any level I've played all year so far. I'm trying to think of what other contenders could be. Heavy Gears would probably be better, actually. But what's different about this is that it's just so relaxing. This level's like a breath of fresh air for me because, first of all, I mean, I love the song. I always love hearing Radiohead, but, I mean, like, it's not the first Radiohead level I've played this month. I did a couple others very deliberately, and I have one more to go this month. That's besides the point. But no, I really, God, what am I trying to say? I really like how relaxing this is compared to those. This was such a refreshing experience because for a hard demon, it is very, very chill. Like, you know, so many hard demons I play, like, they're hard because they're a lot of inputs, or they're flashy, or technical, or precise. This level is precise, but it's like, it's so relaxing. Like, if there was a level I would ever want to play for hours on end, this would probably be the one. I mean, like, I might get tired of it eventually, but I could probably spend several hours on this and just not get bored of it because of how well designed it is. The gameplay is just so smooth. Everything in the song is represented, like, perfectly, but it's not, like, exactly synced, so it doesn't feel mindless. And I love how it just incorporates all these different visual elements. Like, you have these boxes that kind of just come out of nowhere. Like, and they feel like they could be, like, out of place potentially, but they just work. And that happens in a couple other places with other different kinds of types of decoration. It's just so well made. Like, across the board. Totally just, like, perfect song rep. And also, you know, a lot of the notes in the song have visual accompaniment, too, in terms of, like, decoration. But it's also nice because this level creates its own environment. Like, most levels that use Nong songs kind of have more abstract areas. Like, you know, think Comatose. I mean, there's no, like, clearly defined environment that feels expansive and easy to explore. Like, it's a very linear place, like, and very, you know, open-ended in its design.
This level like sticks to this like cave aesthetic, this underground like river or lake, like very closely. Not entirely. Like the lake is kind of just one portion of the level, but like the whole level feels underground, which, you know, is interpreting the song in a unique way, and I absolutely love that. I think this is an excellent level. I would give it an extremely solid 9. I know 10 might sound like it makes sense, but it just doesn't really have like much of a, you know, it doesn't feel super impactful to me. It's just really good. Like, you know, I haven't given a lot of 10s this year, you know, so, but I feel like Charmed Life and The Crossing had a lot more of like an emotional impact on me, whereas this level was just nice and easy to vibe with, and it just looked gorgeous. I know, kind of silly, but it's true. I don't feel like I need to explain my 10s. I think people get an idea of how 10s work at this point, and it's a little redundant to go on about them. That was an awesome level, though. I'm very happy to have played that. I still can't believe this is actually a level that exists, because Glass Eyes, like, is such like an obscure, not obscure so to speak, but like a lot less common as a Radiohead song. Like, you know, not all of the Radiohead songs that have been used are like super popular, but like most of these here, like that you see in lists and stuff, tend to be on the more iconic end. Again, not all. Like Dex Dark is another one that's like a lot of, well, and that's the hardest one too. It's another one though that people are like, you know, people love it, but it doesn't like get completely a ton of attention. I don't know where I'm going with my words. It's also just kind of occurring to me, are these in order of the albums? I feel like they might be. I didn't really think of that. I think this is the order of the Radiohead discography. That's actually really clever. I like that. Wow, didn't think about that. Very neat. Okay, but yeah, anyways, that's about all I want to say. That was a very good level, though. I was a big fan of this one. Yeah, and it's nice to have another one that's like relatively easy as well. Because those of them are like either unrated, so it's hard to tell what their like legitimate difficulty is, or they're extreme or insane demons, which is a little trickier to deal with. Like, I would love to play Wolf at the Door because I absolutely love this song, but it's probably like an extreme demon or something. Anyways, I'm rambling about Radiohead now instead of like the actual level. I basically said everything I want to say on the level. It's a great level. I absolutely adore it. Solid 9. I had a good time with it. And now I get to move on to Hell. After some more easy completions, of course. Yeah. Dude, I can't see because of the cloud cover! This level is so frustrating. Nice. Oh, let's go. This is a hard easy demon, man. And it's only rated a 4. But this one, it's really stressful. God. Okay, well, I'm glad I got that one. I started this a while back, and I just was like, not right now. The first time I played it, I was like, too hard for me. And I just didn't have much of a desire to return to it. But I was scrolling through Easy Demons just now, looking for something to play, and I came across it, and I was like, you know what, let's just do this. Get out of the way. It's hard. I mean, by Easy Demon standards. I mean, like, 131 attempts is still pretty light work, but, like, you know, doesn't mean it's necessarily easy, it just means that I was decent enough at it. Whatever. Okay, I mean, I like the level. I think it's pretty neat. Very pretty, very, interesting. But, like, here's the thing with it. I know it's kind of unfair, but, like, when I play this level, all I can think to myself is I would rather be playing The Hills Have Eyes. And I know that's especially just because of the song, but, like, they have similar aesthetics, too. And The Hills Have Eyes just plays better. Like, a lot better. I don't think the gameplay sucks in this level, and I think the first half before the mirror section is especially good. And I like the final ship part, too. The final ship is pretty solid. But the cube and spider and robot stuff, it's so disorienting because, like, it just feels like it's doing a little too much. You have, like, skewed camera, mirror portal, zoomed out, cloud cover in the decoration. It's just a lot happening at once, and as pretty as it is, like, I love the design of this, it's still not, like, super unique or anything. Like, it's not mind-blowing enough for me to really say I love it. I would give the level a solid 6, and it's really just because, like, it feels derivative to an extent. I know that's kind of unfair, again, because, like, just because it has the same song doesn't mean it's, like, a clone of The Hills Have Eyes. But it just feels, like it's related to that level in a way that isn't entirely original. But, like, I still don't hate it. I'd give it a 6. I'd give it a high 6. I think a high 6 is completely fine for this level. I really don't dislike it at all. It's just, you know, I think it could have been a little bit... I think it could have been a little bit better. But not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. There we go. This level's really fun. Sage coming. Heck yeah. God, ivyteal is such a good creator. Have I said that before? I think I have. Such a good creator. Actually peak. Yeah, that was super, super fun. Big fan of this level. My only complaint, really, I don't like the indicators. They just look a little ugly, and they're not consistent across the board, so they just kind of, I don't know, they're kind of weird. I would have given it a 9, honestly, like a low 9, if it weren't for the indicators, probably. Those are the only gripe I have about this level. It's a pretty major gripe, but the raw gameplay in and of itself is still super fun. Just a really good time. And it uses great song rep, too. I mean, like, maybe it's not perfect, but, like, I do like the way it uses the song. Is this a collab? I think it is, right? I think it was, but I wasn't entirely sure. I'll have to double check. Either way, no. This is a great level. The design just is so intricate and beautiful. It has a lot of different styles it goes through, which is what leads me to believe it's a collab, although I don't see like direct evidence. I think it was in the end screen, whether it was or wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't have like a super deep narrative or anything either. That's also why it's kind of an 8, not a 9. But I do think the art style is very, very pretty. But not a lot else to add. The gameplay is definitely the main draw of this level, just how creative it is. But it's always creative from ivyteal. So, I mean, it's hard to go wrong. That was fun. I like that one. I wish I could say more about it, but that's really all I have to add. Good stuff. Did I not get it? Why didn't I get it? I hit the stupid freaking orb. What do you want from me? That was it. I hit the god. Did I not? Did I forget? This is why we can't do coins like this, man. It's so stupid. I know this level's old, like, so it doesn't matter that much, but, like, can we just not? I swear I should have hit the freaking... Whatever. Run it back. I mean, like, it's not that bad. There we go. Yeah, I like this song a lot. That's why I wanted to play it. I don't have a lot to say. I think the visual style is pretty cool for its era. You know, it definitely reflects some of that early 2.1 design in a couple parts, but also parts like this look pretty unique on their own. And you know, it uses a great song. The gameplay is a little janky, but it's pretty fun. Like, it's kind of the jank you can work around if you try hard enough. Yeah, the song's a vibe. That's all I really have to say. It's a pretty simple level, though. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. It's mostly just carried by the fact that the music is great. But again, I like some of the visual designs, especially the spider part with the rainbows. I remember that looking pretty cool. A couple of things. That said, the coins did bother me in this level. I'm still kind of sick of invisible coins, but whatever. What can you do? Otherwise fun. I just don't get it, man.
Oh my god. Finally. That was way too hard. Way harder than it needed to be. It's really a pretty chill level. It's just an Electrodynamixer remake. I should be fine with this, but I'm just not. I'm not, and that's not okay. Whatever. Okay, I did it, yay. I do like the level. It's fun. The gameplay is pretty neat, but it also has some really, really weird parts. Like, at the very beginning in particular, like, that UFO corridor is weird. It's weird and I don't like it. That's my biggest complaint, but there's some other just, like, tiny little nuanced movements that don't feel particularly natural, and that really brought this level down for me a bit. They weren't ruining the level or anything, but it was just, you know, it was frustrating. And the level's also just, you know, it's a Electrodynamics remake, which, I mean, I love Electrodynamics, and I tend to love Electrodynamics remakes from a gameplay perspective, but it does mean the level's a little bit less original, which, you know, it's not absolutely killing it or anything. I don't think it matters that much particularly, but if it were, like, did have a little bit more creativity, well, I can't even say creativity, but it, like, you know, it does what it sets out to do, but it's just kind of fundamentally okay, just because, you know, it's derivative. But not derivative in a way that feels like it's plagiarism or anything like that. Just derivative in a way that is, you know, just not the most unique. That's all. I don't know. I hope that doesn't sound too overly critical. I'd give the level a solid 6, probably, just because it's an Electrodynamics remake. And therefore lacks a little bit of originality. But the gameplay's overall pretty fun. It's just the couple of things in it that made it less tolerable, I suppose. But yeah, that wasn't too bad. Hard though. Very, very tricky. It's easy. Okay. I'm not even gonna bother, like, seriously reviewing this one. It's just kind of generic. The gameplay's fine, but it has, like, 2 weird parts with the ships that I just don't like. But the rest of it, like, it plays fine, but it's just kind of generic and forgettable. I don't think it's a bad level per se. That's not, like, saying I hate it, but I'm just saying it's, like, I'm not gonna remember this tomorrow, probably. I'll give, like, a 5. I just don't feel compelled to give, like, an extensive review of that one. Okay. Neato. I like what this level's trying to do. I think it's pretty neat. But in execution, I mean, like, to be fair, it's an all-nighter entry. You know, I have my, you know, I've stated my conflicting opinions on GD all-nighter, but it doesn't matter here. So I respect what this level's going for. I think it's pretty neat. But the thing about it, it's like, I don't know, it just feels kind of incoherent and bizarre at the end. Like, there's a pretty cool aesthetic to it. I like the intro, especially with like the kind of open-ended, like, grassy field area, but it also has some weird, like, rawness to it, like, in a way that doesn't really feel great. Like the skulls in the center of, like, the flowers, I guess. Like, it just doesn't feel like it all comes together naturally. And then you also have, like, the stylistic changes between parts. Like, you have this one part here that's, like, got pixel blocks and stuff. And then from there it kind of ditches that aesthetic. It just goes through a lot of different styles, and they don't really flow together super smoothly. I still like the level. The gameplay's a bit weird sometimes. It does have its moments. I especially like the weird minigame part. That was kind of unexpected, but kind of a neat twist, I guess. Even if it's kind of a thing that typically I might not like. I don't know. But there were some cool moments that had good song sync. Visuals had good song rep. It was kind of neat. I didn't like how it jumped parts of the song either. I never like when levels do that with songs. It's already kind of weird to me though, because like I'm already used to hearing this song in 2 levels in both Echo Delta and now The Crossing. And The Crossing is definitely a very memorable level. So hearing the song now is like, ooh, I don't know about that one. I'm not saying it uses it poorly or anything, by the way. That's just kind of a weird whiplash sort of deal for me. So yeah, I like it all around. I go with a low 6. I think overall I had more fun than I didn't. I think it was an overall good experience. If not a little incoherent, but I'd put it very low in the 6 out of 10s, I would say, just because I feel like that stylistic cohesion needed to be there for this to really, like, you know, stick with me. But it's not bad. I was happy to play it, at the very least. It was pretty nice. Good time. Yeah, not bad. But sweet, I did it. That was fun. Mostly. I think the transitions were a little weird at times, but that was kind of about it. It was transitions, and I didn't like the fake orbs in the high-speed part. Usually in high-speed sections, fake orbs just kind of don't really work super well, like just as a mechanic, because you can't really, like, the point of a fake orb is to make the player react, but when you put it at a high speed, it just becomes a memory challenge, and it's not a very fun memory challenge at that.
because it doesn't feel well thought out enough in this case in particular. You know, it's just a couple of them, and they're more disorienting than they are like a legitimate like obstacle. Does that make sense? I don't know. Otherwise, the level's really fun, and a lot of various styles. I think it's collab, right? Yeah, with Spark and Ollie. Ollie's a good creator, and Spark's decent. But anyway, I do like this level. It's, you know, a little thematically incoherent, but I think that's fine. It definitely seems like it's meant to be just a more fun-loving, sort of adventurous level with a bunch of different locales, which I think is neat. That does mean the gameplay quality varies a little bit, just other than the issues already mentioned. Just certain parts have different foreground objects and stuff. Decoration obscures things in different areas. Although, I guess it's not a big deal. I think it's a pretty solid 6 overall. Again, it's pretty bare bones. It's simple, but it does look nice, especially parts like this with the stars and stuff. I like the airship part in particular as well. That part had like a really interesting, sort of precise yet very understandable structure to it. I liked that a lot. But everything else was kind of like, it was okay. Not bad all around though. That was fun. Alright. That one's kind of fun in a weird way. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, I mean, obviously it's a 1.9 level, right? Yes. Is that not right? No, this is 2015. So yes. Oh, update in order to fix 2.2 bug, I see. That's why it says 2.2 clean version. Alright, I get it. I'm surprised it was actually fixed by the creator himself. That's neat. Okay. Yeah, the level's overall pretty fun. I think the gameplay is solid all around. Like, when it's not using memory elements and stuff, I think it's fine. When it is using memory elements, I'm like, yeah, it's alright. You know, it's 1.9, so I expect to see a lot more of that stuff, and I expect it to make a lot more sense, and it does. But it's still like a little bit on the weird side, just because the level is very stagnated. It has individual gameplay sections kind of spread out with long transitions in between. This is kind of what I expect to see from a level of this era. Not inherently a bad thing, but I feel like if I had one main criticism of the level, it would just be that the theme isn't super well executed. I know the Area 51 jokes died years ago, but for a level called Escape Area 51, I don't feel like you kind of have a factory aesthetic, but it's so bare bones that it doesn't really feel meaningful in any way. And that's, I don't know, I feel like that just kind of undercuts the identity of the level, even if the identity is like not very interesting to begin with. So for that reason, I'd probably give it like, I don't know, probably a 5. It was still fun, but it just was incoherent and not super noteworthy. So I think, yeah, 5 out of 10 is probably fine. Still a decent time, but it is a bit on the weird gimmicky side. Also, the ending has like a lot of like downtime, so it feels like it's kind of padding the length. So it's already medium, but then you have another 10 seconds or so of that just like auto, which is weird. I don't know, not an awful level, but I mean I still have a decent time with it, but thematically it doesn't hold a lot of purpose really. Yeah, it was okay though. go. I like the song rep. I think the visuals are gorgeous. I think the gameplay's an atrocity. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but it's flow gameplay with interspersed bosses, both of which do not lend themselves to good gameplay, particularly. I think it's kind of fun when you have the song, because it does sync a little bit. But when I was practicing this, I was like, oh, it's so intricate and awkward. The orb timings just don't feel good, necessarily. Especially at the end. I thought the end was especially awkward. It's not terrible or anything, but sometimes you would just hit like a dash orb, or just a regular orb for that matter, and it would just not line you up with the next thing at all. You wouldn't even like hit the next orb. You would just die, and it was really frustrating. I think the visuals are gorgeous. They are a little bit derivative of the Mario games, because, you know, it uses characters from them, which I guess takes away a little bit from the originality of them. But I mean, even like the scenery is still very, very pretty. I love the pastel rainbow colors and like the sort of space aesthetic it has. Most of it, it's pretty minimalist, but also detailed. Like, I know that's kind of like an oxymoron there, but like, you know, you can tell what the raw parts of the structures are, but there's still like a lot of work that went into them pretty clearly, which I think is nice. Has a pretty cool aesthetic to it. But the gameplay does really drag it down. I think without the great visuals, this probably would have been like a D tier level. Maybe that's exaggerating. I'd still give it like a 4, probably a high 4. I think that's fair enough. It's just not very fun to play. I'll leave it neutral on the rating. Nope, don't hate that. And yeah, it'd probably be a low 4 if it didn't look as good as it does, but it does look decent, so I can give it an okay score. But yeah, that's about it. Not too bad. Oh, finally. God. Okay. I love how it uses generic GD font here when the rest of the level is just like so gorgeously detailed. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So in regards to the gameplay, I have some high points and low points with it. I think overall the gameplay is like kind of awkward. Like, it shares a lot of issues that I've actually expressed with some of the levels I've played previously today. But it's kind of weird because it's awkward, but it's awkward in a way that's consistent and awkward in a way that you can kind of play around. Like, think an Anubis level, for example. Like, Anubis levels are awkward, but like usually you can work around the jank. like if you figure out like the consistent strategies to do so. So you never really feel like you're getting cheated. Maybe a couple times with a portal or two in this level, and that would usually be pretty detrimental. But the level just, oh my god, it's so pretty. Like, I just love the fall aesthetic in general. Most levels with fall aesthetics tend to, you know, be close to my heart. Because I just think it's really, I think it's, you know, in real life, it's a gorgeous time of year. So when you translate that to a GD level, I think it works really nicely. And this level is no exception to that. The level just looks absolutely beautiful. It's still raw to an extent, like kind of like how I mentioned with Glass Eyes. Like it's very easy to see the you know, the basic details, like, so it's realistic but not like so realistic that it just like is completely foreign as a GD level. But like, I love the picturesque mountain backgrounds with little flourishes of like oriental architecture in the more man-made designs. And the atmosphere just works really nicely too, because the song matches that natural feeling. The drop's a little bit weird because it does deviate from that a little bit, but it still works perfectly fine. And I do like the way that the song syncs with the gameplay. Which is another reason why this level is a little bit more tolerable, even if the gameplay is kind of messy at its core. I do wish the gameplay were cleaned up in this level just a little bit, and I think if it were, I would have given this a pretty solid 8. I would lean towards 7, probably even a lower 7, just because of the few issues in the gameplay. Because if there's one thing in the gameplay outside of the awkwardness I do have a complaint about, I just don't like the indicators. They just don't look very good. And they're not very accurate either. And I didn't check super thoroughly, but I feel like the indicators were also only in the first part. If they were in the second part, I was just not even paying attention to them. Doesn't matter that much one way or another, but I do think level would have benefited without them. And again, if it were just cleaner gameplay in the first place, wouldn't be much of an issue. Probably would have given it an 8, but with it being the way it is now, I think 7's fine, because the visuals still carry it a good bit, with the gameplay being just alright to go alongside that. Still, beautiful level. I quite like this one, but it could be better. Not too bad all around though. Okay, well that was easy. Much easier than the last level. I don't have a lot to say. It's a pretty generic tech level. I mean, I like the space aesthetic of some parts, but a lot of it is very bare bones. I said levels. I guess this is worth its way into my vocabulary now. Anyway, no, it's a fine level, but it feels like a lot of weekly demons do, with just like, you know, some red and blue glow on a techie neon background with some futuristic looking buildings in the background. You know, it's pretty generic as far as most levels go, and it's kind of over indicated, and it's pretty easy as a whole. I really don't know if I'd go 5 or 6, because inherently there's nothing really wrong with it, but it does feel sort of bog standard. So, I mean, I might lean towards 5, even if it's not really flawed in any capacity. I don't know, it just, I didn't feel anything playing it. It kind of just lacked soul. which is ironic because the level's song is Sky and Soul, and that's the only reason I clicked on this, is because I love that song, and it's not even the best part. I don't mean to sound so backhanded with this review. I mean, it's still a fine level, but I'm just not like a huge fan of it or anything. All around not bad, but just kind of underwhelming. Oh well.
Woo! I almost hit that last spike. Oh my god. That would have been such a fumble, dude. I, like, celebrated way too early. Note to self, don't do that. But yay. Wow. Cool, fun. Yay. Awesome. Neat. I like this level. I like this level a lot. This level is pretty freaking sick. Kind of a loaded review, I guess. I feel like I'm going to end up abbreviating it regardless because my brain doesn't function sometimes. But I'm going to try my best to be thorough here because there's a lot to love about this level. But what order do I want to go in? Let's just start with the gameplay. The gameplay is by far the most significant thing in this level. I don't even know if I'd call it my favorite thing about it, but it is really fun. Usually I tend to like faster, flowier gameplay. That just tends to be more my style. But I don't even know if I should say that, because I really love intricate stuff too. Like, very experimental gameplay. And this is no doubt experimental. Because obviously it is extremely messy and busy. And it has this really bizarre gimmick with the circle blocks. But it works really well. I think it's super well realized. You know, it's messy, but like it comes together in a way that doesn't absolutely blow your mind. Like, if this level just had orbs everywhere and you had to figure out a route, that'd be a different story because there wouldn't be much pattern recognition. You'd really just be memorizing, and that would kind of suck. But when you can look at a cluster of orbs in this level and tell exactly what you're supposed to do at it, because you did it a number of times, like, in context, like, it makes so much more sense than if you had a billion other things surrounding it and just had to figure it out which ones were the right ones out of the dozens around you. I think that makes this level work a lot better. That's, like, probably my favorite aspect of the level is just how clean it is while still being messy on purpose. Like, it strikes this perfect chord between chaos and simplicity, which is just excellent if you ask me. I think it's a great realization of the theme. And, you know, it just plays really well, too. Like, disregarding, you know, just, like, my general comment that I've already made about, like, the execution of the gameplay premise, it also is just, like, really fun. The click patterns are satisfying. I like how it uses occasional double clicks. It kind of ramps them up more as you go, so it does add an element of intensity there. Like, you know, you have to time your double clicks a little bit more precisely as you go, which I think works nicely. And it adds a little bit of an increase in pressure as the level goes on. Of course, it's a pretty short level, being just over a minute, which is, yeah, notably pretty minor. But, I don't know. I think it crams everything in really well. It makes excellent use of the space it's given to create a really fascinating gameplay experience that is just really fun as well. That's by far my favorite thing about it.
I do kind of have to wonder what it's like if you don't go for the coin. Because, you know, going for the coin, it demands that you don't take any damage, which is cool. You know, it makes for a reasonable challenge for a level of this nature, but it does have one flaw that I can see, and it kind of takes out the routing element of this level. I'll say, like, this level was a lot easier than I anticipated. This is a 19 on the GDDL as it stands, I'm pretty sure. And that's just a normal playthrough. The coin route, I would say, is, like, barely a 19. I would probably lean closer to an 18, if that. That still seems kind of excessive to me. But if that's an 18 with the coin, like, I feel like it has to be a lot easier without the coin, because you can take 10 hits of damage that way, and you have to route around it. I would say that the coin undercuts the theme of the level a little bit, because I feel like it would have been more fun if this level was completely impossible to avoid all circle blocks in, and you had to create your own route that is suited to your personal tastes the best. I think that really would have sold the theme a lot more, because right now the circle blocks aren't really relevant to me. Like, I don't pay much attention to those. I just think to myself, okay, treat it like an X block, but maybe with a little bit more leniency because the corners are a bit more open. That's kind of how I think about it, going for the coin. So therefore I think the coin is kind of at odds with the theme of the level, but coins are optional anyway. So, like, as much as I would have preferred it not be there, like, it being there doesn't, like, absolutely crush the level or anything. I think it works just fine. I just kind of wish it weren't there. But, you know, judge a level... Well, actually, that's not the right thing. I was going to say judge a level for what it has and not what it doesn't have. But I don't even follow that philosophy, and I'm judging a level literally for what it has, which is a coin. So, I guess that's on me, but you get the purpose, or the premise. Like, judge by the best possible way to play it, I guess. So I might have to run this back at some point. Obviously, I'm pressed for time right now, so I'm not going to do that today. But I might return to it sometime when I've got a little bit of leniency in my schedule to do that. But anyway, that's all I want to talk about with the gameplay. Talking about the visuals, I feel like the visuals just go hand in hand with the gameplay, really. They're messy, they're cluttered, they're heavily layered and stacked and have these bizarre color palettes, but they just flow together seamlessly in this chaotic nature that just serves this bizarre, quirky theme. I mean, obviously the level's made to feel busy and incoherent, and that's exactly what the visuals do, because they just don't make a lot of sense, but there's still a lot of interesting tendencies in it. Like, you know, a lot of the times you'll see these saws with the eyes in them. You have, like, decoration in the beginning that's kind of forest-like. It feels like a mystical space, like, in, like, a natural area, but, like, still kind of cursed in some regard. Like, the level's uncomfortable to look at, not, like, in that it looks bad, just in that it's, like, kind of chilling how eerie this space is, but it works perfectly fine because the level's supposed to be kind of unsettling, you know? Like, it represents that both in its chaotic nature and the very specific noticeable details in the design, you know, with the eyes and such, which just works really well, I would say. The level's very, very well realized, I think, from a thematic standpoint, just in all aspects, and I absolutely do love it. I feel like I did kind of have one criticism of the visuals. I don't remember where it was exactly, so I guess if I'm blanking on it right now, it's not that important. But I just think the level looks great across the board, and I really wish I had, like, a screenshot or something here of, like, the back half of the level. Or not the back half, I think the part where it kind of opens up is definitely my favorite, because, as I recall, the background is just very expansive and beautiful, kind of like a night sky aesthetic, in a way, which is just really awesome, because, it adds to the natural feel of the level.
I would say, just in a really, really cool, awesome, super neat way. I'm kind of looking on my phone right now to see if I can find a good screenshot of that part. Obviously, I can't show it, but you know what I mean. The part with, yeah. The part with the moon and, like, the rainbow flowers and the starry sky, the hills in the background. It's just so gorgeous. And the colors blend there a lot more seamlessly as well than they do in some of the other parts. Again, not as if the other parts are bad. It's not like night and day difference. It's just, you know, a really awesome aesthetic. So yeah, overall I liked this level a lot. It was super fun. It did drain me a little bit, and last night I was just enraged, specifically by the, especially by the part I was just talking about with, like, the moon and stuff. The dash orb gimmick was just, like, killing me at the end of the night, and I was just, like, out of patience. I was up the wall with anger. So the level can definitely drag you down a little bit if you don't think it out thoroughly enough, but, like, still, I respect what this level does a lot, and when you get into that flow state, when you're not, like, bashing your head against the wall, it's a great time. So overall, I'm just really happy with this. This was super, super fun. A very unique experience. I wanted to get some more popularity. I think this level deserves a bit more recognition. The only reason I found out about it is because the monthly Patreon voting on Werewin's channel, because someone has requested this level every single month for like a year now. Okay, maybe that's not that much, but for a long time now. And I hadn't really given it much thought prior to this, but like now that I've played it, I can say that I would be very interested in seeing more coverage on it, because it is a level definitely worth your time if you're into this sort of clunky, messy, but still coherent gameplay and visual style. And also I love Radiohead, you know. It's probably Bloom is not my favorite Radiohead song. King of Limbs is not my favorite Radiohead album. I would say this is still like musically the weakest level I've played. But you know, it matches the level itself perfectly, so who cares? I would give it a solid 9. I feel confident in that one. It's probably a little on the lower end. I might rank it either above or below Walls of Stems. Because that level had like a kind of similar visual style with like the messiness, but it also was more coherent. And it didn't play as well. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'll probably rank this above it, but I have no freaking clue. It doesn't matter. It's a 9 out of 10. It's a solid 9 out of 10, and I feel good about that rating. Overall, excellent time. Happy to have played it. Glad it wasn't impossibly difficult. Just good stuff all around. And now we can move on.
Yay, gosh, finally. All coins, it celebrates that. That's so cool. Man. Great level. Wow, though. Oh, click to finish, yes. Let me be done. Okay, cool. Yeah, no. This was harder than I thought it was going to be. The hard demon label here is obviously a lie, because weeklies, you know, they do the thing where they save the original difficulty rating, and then get changed later. Just depends on what it is when you load it up. But I do think this level is still a little underrated because it's a medium demon right now, and it's currently rated a 6 on the GDDL, which is, you know, kind of fair. I could probably see it a point or two higher, but then again, the coins also made a little bit of a difference in the difficulty, so I won't really talk that much about it. But let's just, you know, give the review. How's the level? I think it's really good. You know, obviously it's making very strong use of the randomized gameplay because, you know, this is an expansion of Aethra, and I played Aethra back in January. Which, I mean, like, you know, it was a good level, but it didn't really leave a lasting impression, and I guess I can see why that is now, because it was clearly unfinished. It was still a great level. I enjoyed it. I think I still gave it like an 8. But it wasn't quite as impactful as this level is, I don't think. And this one, it just feels like it has much more of a progression to it, you know. It slows down a lot in the middle and then ramps back up at the end. It just feels a lot more cohesive from start to finish, which I think is great. So in that regard, I love it. And it just, you know, that allows it to work more with different randomization concepts. I feel like there were a couple of changes in, like, the original part of the level. Definitely the beginning, because now you have, now you've got the spike ceilings that either do or don't appear. So you either have to do nothing or do triple spike, which is a good change. And I think the color changing mechanic in, like, the drop is new, although I could be wrong. But I do love that. Like, even if I never mentioned it in the original level and it was there, I love how it does that because you've got orange, blue, and gray, and the level has a sky theme. So, you know, you've got, like, a sunset, and then, like, a daylight, and then kind of a stormy weather sort of. They all tie into the cloudy sky theme, but they all, you know, function differently, just in the sort of tone they set, which I think is really cool. That was definitely a standout thing. I don't remember if that was there in the original level or not, but I do commend it for doing that. And it does play with the sky theme really well just across the board, because some parts do, regardless of, you know, the randomization, have a stormy aesthetic. You've got airships, you've got, like, this castle in the sky, which I think is just awesome. I love the stained glass here. It's just really, really beautiful as a setting. I kind of wish this part played a little bit better, but, I mean, it's not bad inherently, it's just tricky. I'm getting ahead of myself. I think overall the theme is really well executed, and it just feels so much more complete now, because the slow section in the middle, you know, it's no longer the end, so it doesn't really feel like an anticlimactic ending. It feels like a moment to catch your breath before getting thrown back into the next high-intensity moment, which is just perfect, I would say. So thematically, visually, across the board, I think it's a great level. My only other visual complaint would really be that I don't like that it uses the pixel propeller assets in the airship part, but that's just me being nitpicky, I guess. I know they're a common thing, but, you know, mixel aesthetics just get under my skin, but it's such a small part of the level, and at least it's being used thematically appropriately, so I'm fine with that, I guess. But let me just talk about the gameplay. Again, the randomization is just really well done. I think it's super fun. I don't really need to go on about the main things in, like, the first few sections, because it's more or less the same, but it just expands upon it nicely. The new introduction of elements here, it feels cool because it feels like it focuses a lot more on pre-built entire sections, with more, like, consistent gameplay throughout. You never really have to react as much. You do sometimes. Like I said, the wave part is a standout of that because the blocks will shift up or down. It's really hard to react to regardless. But you'll see a lot more coherent gameplay sections, so it's not really reacting yet. You know, do I or do I not need to hit this orb? Do I or do I not need to take this specific path? It really like keeps you on a certain route, which is nice because the further you get into the level, the less you want to have to sight read, or not sight read, but the less you have to play guesswork with what will or will not kill you. It just keeps you on one path, and then you just have to acknowledge the hazards coming up as you go, which I think works fine. So the level kind of has two different faces in that regard. Of course, you get a little bit of cross-pollination between the beginning and intro mechanics still, but it's really well executed in this, I think. And overall, I really had a good time with this. I do wish I got it a little faster. I don't know how long this took. Maybe like 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Still very fun, though. And a well-deserved weekly. Always good to see higher end difficulties getting the weekly position. You know, it just keeps you on your toes a little bit more. And I'm always thrilled to see that. And also legendaries for weekly. That's the second legendary weekly in a row. Can you believe that? Would love to see more of that. Anyway, great level overall. I gave the original an 8. I honestly am thinking I might bump it down to a 7 with this new version of mine. Maybe that's biased in some capacity. Regardless of whether I did move the original or not, I'd give this one a 9. I'd give it a low 9. There are still a couple of, you know, nitpick spots that would have solidified it more had they been cleaned up a little bit, but just thematically, overall, it's really well done. With good progression and good gameplay for the most part. Very nice all around. And it's always good to see another 0 level. That's about all I have to say. A little bit long-winded on that one, but hey. I guess you could say it deserves it. Good stuff.
Nice. Okay. This was pretty fun. So was this a real meetup collab? Okay. So it was a whole team of creators. I didn't remember, couldn't tell if it was just a collab with Hawks or if it was just or if it was more than that at first. No, I do like this level, but obviously it has a lot of mega collab syndrome. There are some parts that feel like really smooth to play. I think all of them are fun, but they aren't balanced very well. I don't think the part with the breakable blocks is especially difficult, because it adds like a complete memory section into what's an otherwise pretty straightforward level. And then there's also the part with the click sync at the beginning with like kind of the beach aesthetic, I think it was, or more of like a sunset or I don't know, whatever it was. That part was a little bit weird as well, but like they weren't bad parts necessarily, they just didn't really fit in with the rest of which is like all really straightforward. So yeah, no, that's not a bad thing. But just offset the difficulty a little bit, which is not super ideal, but it's fine. I still think it's a good level. I really did enjoy a lot of the mechanics it plays around with, and I think the visuals are great across the board. Like,
again, Mega Collab Syndrome, so they aren't all built equal, but most of them, you know, fit into a very similar theme and decoration style, and they don't feel like super jarring to go from one to the other. I think it's good. I'm gonna give it a like, and I'll probably rate it a 7 out of 10. Probably a lower 7. I think is pretty fair. I think I'm gonna abstain from voting on the difficulty though, because this is currently a hard demon. I feel like it probably could be closer to a medium. But you know, when I do the hard demon milestones, I typically like them to stay that way, but it just wouldn't sit right with me to vote for hard demon if I don't actually think that. So I'm just gonna let the cards fall as they do, or whatever the saying is. I'm not gonna have any like influence over this because it could go either way. I feel like, and I won't be devastated. I played this knowing I could become a medium demon at some point based on the GDDL, because it's 6 on the GDDL, which I still think is low, but I don't know. It doesn't matter too much. But that was fun. Nice little chill hard demon to set the day.
I know some of it's on me, but just like, I just want to be done with it, man. It's just, I'm so over this. God. Man. Oh my god, I was not supposed to do that the way I did it, but I don't know if I could have died or not, but it doesn't matter. I'm done. Oh my god, thank you. Wow, yay.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Now, I don't like this level. I really don't like this level. You may be inclined to think, I don't like this level because it is, like, slop. Because it is derivative. Because it is crashing off of another level's idea. And no, that's not why I hate this level. I think that, in respect to Falling Up, it's fine. I think, you know, it utilizes similar aesthetics, and it feels like it genuinely is a true love letter to Kermal. That said, if I received this level as a love letter, I would be breaking up with that person on the spot, because, oh my god, this level is so horrible. This level's gameplay is just like, oh, you can tell this is early 2.1. You can just smell it coming off of every gameplay decision this level makes. It is an absolute disaster. Let's go part by part here. I think part by part is the best way I can reasonably break this down and be thorough with it. So, starting at the beginning. The beginning is, like, fine. I think it completely misses the point
of falling up, because you don't fall through the ground anymore in the beginning, which just baffles me. It took me a long time to adjust to that, because I kept expecting to fall through the ground and then have to hold to buffer the next orb, but no, you just keep coasting along. I feel like this level didn't realize what falling up was doing. So that part is weird, and it does have some annoying blindness, but so does falling up. It's not annoying and falling up, so I mean, like, it's pretty much excusable here. That part is... So the first part is generally pretty fine. I don't love it, I don't hate it. You know, it's an okay beginning. Then you get to the city part. The city part is still moderately decent. It's like definitely a step down in quality. The biggest issue with that part, I think, really is the rounded ground tiles, like the rounded structures, because rounded edges and corners on anything tends to be a big issue for me. I just hate not knowing where the hitbox for the platform I'm on ends, because it seems to vary wildly from level to level. So that's a big issue. I don't think it's awful aside from that, but it is annoying to kind of figure out where the rounded edges are. And some of the orbs are in weird places. Again, not an awful section by any means, but it's not doing the level any favor, so to speak. And then you get to the ship, and this is the integral part of the level, because this is like the most iconic part of falling up, right? Like, you can't fumble the ship, and this level goes beyond fumbling the ship. This level massacres the ship. It is like night and day how well realized this ship concept is. Falling up, you know, you have the orb mechanics, but it is very straightforward, it's very linear, works very, very nicely. This level, oh my lord, why does every object in it move? Why? It doesn't make any remote amount of sense to me. It completely baffles me how, like, different the ship is, because it is just fast, blind flying, where you basically have to just kind of hope you get lucky and don't hit one of the objects as it shifts into place, because there's no visual indicator of where it's going to stop. It becomes a challenge of memory, which isn't always a bad thing, and even in this kind of style, context, whatever, but in this level it just doesn't work. And, you know, the following wave is kind of a similar story. I think it's alright. The shifting objects do disorient me, although it's not nearly as much. It's just that sometimes I'd be committed to one trajectory that looked fine, but then the wall would shift into me and kill me, and it's just like, why? I couldn't have told that was going to happen from the start, so why are we doing it? That's a problematic thing. And this section as well, just, you can tell it wasn't play tested, because you just phase through walls. Like, there are certain times where you can just be holding, and you can just, like, pass through the wall. Like, what? I'm sorry? Excuse me? It was especially weird, because when I played this for the first time, I assumed that the potion at the start of the level was a collectible for the coin. No, that's an LDM trigger. So, when I practiced the ship for the first time, I was just passing through that upper wall to get to the upside down portal. I was like, okay, so the level's gonna play with some memory elements. I need to pass through the wall instead of trying to thread this gap. But as it turns out, that wasn't the case, because when I didn't get the LDM, I died at that part. So there's also physical objects that are affected by the LDM, which is just even more confusing to me. It's such a train wreck, and that's absolutely the worst part of the level. I can say that without a doubt. It is just really, really strange. The following cube I don't like, because it's really hard to see the spikes that are coming up. I guess once you figure out what you're doing, it's not that bad, but if you are not paying enough attention, you can really get blindsided by one of those, and it is painful. Of course, that's always player error, but I just wish I didn't have to pay that close of attention to begin with, and really try to decipher the invisible spike placement through the fog. Whatever. Following section, also a complete nightmare, because the shifting camera is extremely blind. Once you memorize the pattern, it plays functionally, like, decent. Like, there's no jank or moving object or anything that's ever gonna, like, feel inconsistent, really, because all of it is pretty much stationary. But it is a really annoying learning process with how much the camera goes up and down and you can't see a freaking thing.
at high speed. The black orb on the cube, or is it a robot? It's a robot, I think. Whichever it is especially disorienting. That caught me off guard for a few times until I eventually kind of locked that in. And then the duel at the end, or not what would normally be a duel, but what's not a duel anymore for some unknown reason. But the rainbow part at the end, I wish it added more white glow so I could, like, not see the gameplay at all. I can almost decipher what's happening in the final section of the level. Of course, I'm being facetious when I say that. The final section, I can't see a freaking thing, because there is white glow plastered everywhere, even more so in the LDM for some reason. There's just a completely invisible blue orb covered by clouds in the LDM, but not the regular version? Like, huh? I don't get that at all. I was just, like, dumbfounded when I got to that part. I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And then I clicked in the middle of that cloud, and I was like, oh, there's a blue orb here I can't see. Okay, that's awful. And then I got back to it with LDM off, and I was like, okay, so what gives? It's such a mystery to me. Why this level is built the way it is. Again, I can tell it's like a completely genuine attempt to pay respects to Kamal. I don't think from a conceptual standpoint it's an awful level or anything. It's not a lack of respect for the level, like it would be with, like, Dark Dimension or something. It's just that it doesn't play well. I don't know how you mess up everything the original level does right. It's so confusing. Oh my god. Like, I was really thinking this was going to be a decent level, and it's just not. It messes everything up. And it just is agonizing to play. Lord, never bring me back here. Oh, not the leaderboard. No. God, okay. Well, I did it. So, good for me, I guess. At the very least, the one silver lining is now we have a basis in 2026 for what a 2 out of 10 looks like. Which is as low as you can get without being a complete, like, absolute misconceived disaster zone of a level. Like, I know that kind of sounds like what I've just described, but, F tier is, like, just disrespectfully bad. This isn't disrespectfully bad, it's just bad. And I'm surprised, too, because I thought Small was a pretty solid creator. I quit. What? Why does this have so many... Well, I mean, I guess people don't like... Okay. I mean... But last I checked, Small's a decent creator. Small did do Peaceful, right? Or is it a different Small? No clue. Like, I know there's... Xylinox did the... Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, very popular level. I have no idea. Like, I don't know. But again, no, I thought Small was a good creator. I'm just kind of rambling at this point, but I'm confused by this because it's weird and not very functional. Whatever, though. Yeah. Valiant effort. Not the best execution of all time, but, I don't know, here we are. At least, let's move on to the real following up. Yay! Final clear of March. Hell yeah! Woo!
We're following up so hard with this one, man. Love to see it. Extreme Demon number 4 in the books. Let's go. I'm so hype. This one's monumental for me, too. This one's especially exciting, because I have a storied history with following up. I guess I have time. I can go on about that for a little bit. Why not? We love yapping. This was originally, and I say originally like as in a long time ago, not as in like originally for this profile, like originally for like when I started GD, like long time ago. I wanted this to be my first Extreme Demon. I have always loved this level just from a thematic and gameplay standpoint. It does so much well, and I'm going to review it too, of course, naturally. But I just kind of want to start, like, you know, by acknowledging that this level, like, it does kind of mean a lot to me, just from, like, a legacy standpoint. So yeah, I wanted this to be my first Extreme Demon at one point in time, because it just seemed really appropriate to me. It would have really tested my skills, because it tests pretty much everything I'm bad at, or at least was bad at the time, which was ship, wave, and dual gameplay. And this, I did kind of exaggerate. When I say this is what I wanted my first Extreme to be, it's like the time I considered actually playing Extreme Demons. Like, back in, like, junior year of high school. Like, so about 3 years ago at this point? I think, I'm sort of estimating, but it was, like, at least 2 years. At the time decided I wanted to play this. And I just never could. I just sucked at it. Could never get the first chip anywhere near consistent. The waves were just kicking my butt. I couldn't get any consistency with the waves because I just wasn't good at the game mode. I actually got some relative consistency with the duel. I actually was able to beat the duel in its entirety a number of times. But I never got anywhere close to, like, actually beating this. The first drop was just, like, way, way, way too intense for me. And it just never happened. Then you fast forward to, like, about a year ago when I started the new account. I didn't really know what I wanted my first Extreme to be. I kind of considered this, but it was really hard for me to decide what I wanted to do, because, like, I beat Forgotten Metropolis as, like, my first hard demon on the account. It wasn't super important because, you know, it was relatively easy. And then Comatose was my first insane demon on the account, and both of those are, like, XL legendary levels, although there's, like, a big disparity between those, because you've got, like, a 2.5 minute level, and then you've got, like, a 9-minute level, and there's just not really any comparing the two. So, like, there was this part of me that kind of wanted to continue the legendary trend and do a legendary Extreme, but I was like, no, not really, because none of them really looked that appealing, at least that were in my, like, skill set, and they didn't feel like they'd be as impactful either. But I kind of wanted to keep with the XL trend. Obviously, this is an XL level, but it doesn't really wear its length on its sleeve. Like, the length is more of, like, just a side factor. Like, yeah, it's over 2 minutes, but who cares, really? Like, you know, does that make sense? I don't mean that in a derogatory manner. I just mean that to say that the length is not what makes this level hard. It's absolutely the gameplay. So I wanted to stick with something that was more or less impacted by the length, at least to stay in line with Comatose, and that's how I landed on the Lost Existence. Because Lost Existence, if it weren't this level, that would have been, like, my dream Extreme. I know, stupid thing to say, from, like, a phrase, whatever. Yeah, no, Lost Existence is what I ended up going with. And I know it's kind of weird that I didn't choose to pivot into this one immediately. Went with Misty Mountains and Acu first. But I have had this on my mind for a while, and this was kind of just a plan that I had for a good little bit. And here we are now, and let's talk about it. I mean, I love the level. It's great. I'm going to start with the score just so I don't completely oversell it. Actually, no, I'm not going to start with the score. Because I don't want to reveal the Extreme Demon scores just yet. I want to wait and do that. I know I kind of slipped my tongue on Acu. But ratings for Extreme Demons are TBD as of now. But what do I think of this level? I think it's really, really well made. It just has like this awesome motivational atmosphere throughout. It's not so extreme to the point where it feels like you're constantly being lifted up. I know that sounds kind of strange in a way, but like there's kind of like a moment of somber reflection. Like the music is major and optimistic. Like it never really feels downtrodden, but the intensity of like the electronic noise and like the large sort of glissandos in the song, like they really convey a feeling of intensity that isn't inherently negative, but it's like you're riding the storm. Because you have a lot of like stormy decoration in this level. I don't know if that's really what it is, but you know, it's a lot more. It's not nearly as bright in the beginning as it is later in the level. So, you know, it feels like you're kind of trying to flow with the storm, but eventually the storm passes and you open up into the sky and it's this beautiful blue vista with rainbows and just like this absolutely gorgeous ethereal light that I just love. It looks so gorgeous, especially for 2.0. I mean, you know, 2.0 had more impressive levels than Falling Up, but like none of them really hit as hard because I just feel like environmental storytelling wasn't as much of a factor in that point in time. So that's just something Falling Up does really well. Not every part is super consistent and coherent. I feel like the city part is kind of weird, and you have like the weird pinkish tone in the first part that doesn't really fit the narrative of the level that much, but it doesn't matter because it's just so like iconic and interesting from a gameplay perspective, the way it kind of has you pass through the ground. I'll talk about the gameplay in a second, obviously, but like the level merges the gameplay elements with the visuals so well. And, you know, another thing I really love about this level is how it uses the rainbows in the gameplay, because sometimes, you know, like it layers the rainbows with the invisible ground, and that creates this interesting effect where you kind of have to watch some of the rainbows, but not all of them. The curved rainbows remain background. It feels very 1.9 for a 2.0 level to me, at least. I don't know if many people would agree with that, especially because rainbows came in 2.0, I'm pretty sure. So it wouldn't really make a lot of sense for it to be 1.9 theme, but just the use of fake assets and creative gameplay like that made me it felt more akin to 1.9 level, which was neat. And I guess I should just talk more broadly about the gameplay, because that's just me analyzing the gameplay as it relates to the visuals, because obviously if this part didn't play with like fake assets and stuff, it wouldn't be nearly as visually striking, I don't guess. Anyways, but no, as for the rest of the gameplay, it's really fun, but in kind of a weird BS sort of way, like Kermal always does. Like, you know, it's got like so much straight fly and like basic wave corridors and weird finicky cube timing nonsense that just should suck, but it doesn't because it's so well represented by the song. It's like Lit Fuse. Lit Fuse has that obnoxious, long, straight flying corridor. I say obnoxious, like it should be obnoxious, but it's not obnoxious because, like, the way it represents the song is just so genius. And the same applies here because every single one of those, like, absurd movements that would just suck in any other context is, like, beautifully accompanied by these, like, intense musical moments that just really give power to every single one of those. And it feels like you're really just overcoming this great thing, like these straight flying corridors that normally would just look like some slaughterhouse nonsense. Like, it gives them meaning. It makes the level feel organized and coherent, but still in a way that isn't hospitable to the player. Like, it still feels natural and like a true barrier. It's like this weird balance, but it just works, and it's really awesome. Super, super cool gameplay stuff. The only thing that bothered me in this level, and it's not even about the gameplay itself, I don't like the first coin, and even still I like the first coin. Like, I don't like playing it. I like what it's going for, though, because it actually forces you to play with the game's mechanics in a unique way, and, like, think, how do I utilize these orbs to get to this point? Obviously, levels use
funky orb mechanics for coins all the time. But following up just takes it to another level, because, you know, you have to navigate this little labyrinth and grid structure, which is just cool. Again, I hate playing it. It's just how much can you delay your orbs, you know, because that's just always fun, especially when you're falling into those at high speed when they're slightly off screen, but who cares that much? I at least appreciate the conceptualization, but it did make playing this suck. I would have cooked this level up if it weren't for that coin, because it killed most of my runs, but, like, aside from, like, the first drop, the rest of the level was kind of light work, if I'm being honest. And I feel like any of my, like, significant deaths really just stemmed from nerve control as opposed to, like, actual difficulty. Past the first drop, that is. Anyways, I like Falling Up. It's a good level. I remain slightly remorseful that I didn't play it sooner, but I'm still glad I made it one of my first extremes, because I just feel like it had to be. I've always kind of admired this level. Kamal's, you know, legendary creator, obviously. I would love to play more. I wish not all of them were extreme demons, but that's okay. So yeah, good level. I will, I'm tired, man. I will rank this sometime later in the year. I kind of have an idea of where it shall fall, but for now, we're going to leave it at that. Not too bad of an experience all around. I am a fan. Good job. Good job making this 10 years ago, Kamal. You did good. Sweet.